first memory of Lego was going to infant school the first year, and they had a box of Lego bricks there. And me and this other boy, we built things out of Lego and smashed them into the wall to see how strong we could make them and when they would fly apart. And I went home to my mum and said, I want some Lego. And I built spaceships until I was 13, I think, when my mum told me, you should put the Lego away now, you're too old and you'll never get a job playing with Lego. Because I still had that creative thing, I started drawing a lot more. So I ended up drawing spaceships, and that's when I ended up getting into art and design, and I became a designer. I got a design degree and stuff again. And then in 2006, my then girlfriend saw the job advertised for Lego, and I sent in my design portfolio with all of these extra pictures of spaceships and castles and Lego construction. And I was invited for a 2-day interview. One day was building, and the second day was presenting and drawing, and they liked what they saw. And that was 12.5 years ago. Little involvement in that, not a lot, but I painted the first of the new dinosaurs we were making. So I did the hand painting on the T-Rex and the Velociraptor and the little ones, and also the Triceratops. That was one of the dinosaurs, because we were just using acrylic paints we had. I painted one of the dinosaurs in an olive green color, and Matthew Ashton liked this olive green so much, and there was an opportunity for a new color in Lego. That olive green came out of that dinosaur being painted olive green, which I hope makes up to the Lego fans for the time I killed teal. I asked for it. No, well, when we started up the Jurassic World license this time around, we walked around the office to see, well, did anybody have any of the old dino stuff, or even further back, the old brick-built dinosaurs and other things. But one of the things we found was a big grey dinosaur about this size that Mike Psyche had built when he started at Lego, and we basically stole his dinosaur, and we took it back to the Jurassic World area. And we put it on top of a shelf, and it was there as a sort of inspiration for what could be. We were looking at, should we see if this could be a direct-to-consumer, one of the big shop-at-home sets. And James Stevenson decided it needed more than just a dinosaur, so he built a set of the gates slightly lower than this. It was just grey, and it was just there's nothing to it except a grey box with an arch, nicely built. And it was to make a backdrop for the dinosaur. And when we put those together and we put them out there and said, this is a potential thing, even with just a plain grey dinosaur, everybody was like, yeah, let's do this. Mike's head was very different. It was much more of a generic T-Rex one. I brought a lot more of the Jurassic head in, but it did leave a lot of he had a beautifully designed head, slightly smaller, but it didn't look like the Jurassic one. And I know there's people who say this one doesn't, but it's still closer. The tail I modified slightly, but it's mostly his. I had to find a new way of balancing the ball joints, because they would just snap off, so there's other pieces in there. The hip joint he'd solved already, and in actual fact the mechanism he worked here, which is with the Technic turntable and the round bionicle style joints as a friction point for it, had already been used by Nick Van Slagmaat in the Voltron set, although at slightly reduced friction. So we knew it would work, and we knew it was buildable. So then I just had to find a way to make it work and be buildable in this one. Mike's feet were based again on the ball joint, the bionicle style ball joint, and that wasn't strong enough to support the model over time. So I had to figure out a new ankle, and that took a while. That was most of my time, believe it or not, because so much weight goes through the legs of this thing. Trying to find a way to make it so it's stable and you can pose it and do all kinds of weird stuff with it. It's all, it's it had to have that stability, and that is, of course, quite tough. You know, you want to be able to pose him however you like. Pose her, I should say, however you like. It was just trial and error, and again, it was doing it and then putting it on a table and going home for the weekend. And if I got home if I got back to work on Monday morning and it was still standing up, that was a success. I could continue from that point. The times I came in and found it either fallen over on the table or worse still, smashed on the floor, that was harsh. I'll see if I can pull a leg off, but don't be surprised if it's an issue. So yeah, here you can see the joint inside and the friction ball joints, but because it's actually on a pivot, so it pivots on the ball joints as well as using them as friction, you get a very organic feel. And I'll be interested to see what Lego fans do with this, what sort of dragons and other dinosaurs and things like that we're going to see coming out of this hinge point. The process, of course, like all Lego models, we cooked it. We put it in the oven, heat tested it to see what would happen and where it would break. And I was very nervous about that one. But we took the heat tested one, and again, I put it on top of the shelves while I was working on the gate, and I left it there for 2 weeks, the heat tested one, to see if this leg construction and weight would survive, and it was fine. It's good. So I hope this will stay on people's mantelpieces and windowsills and not fall apart for many years. Limited number of color changes we can make, because otherwise the complexity in the Lego factory becomes so great we just can't change the machines over that often. It takes half a day to cool the machine down to change a color and half a day to get back up to speed. So we have to limit that, and that means there is a limit on how many colors we can have per year, and therefore there's a limit on how many changes we can make, and for every change something else has to go out of the system. This element that goes on his eyebrow, for example, this is the
it's that new one that was introduced in, I think, Speed Champions.
That's right, yeah. It's the Speed Champions element, allowing them to do the front of vehicles properly. But again, that shaping, that 45-degree cutoff on a bow, allowed me to go very organic. So you can see I color changed it at the front here, on the eyebrows. I think some other stuff as well. The quarter pizza thing as well in brown. And these allow me to break it up and get rid of so much of the squareness of Lego, because even when you're using the bows, you end up with where a color change meets a color change in the model, you end up with a straight line. So trying to give an organic feel, trying to get stripes that go and break through to the next color. I wanted it to look organic, not like a spray painted spaceship, which, as I love doing spaceships with stripes in, is always, I'm fighting against myself there. Because it was included as part of the Jurassic World theme. So of course we had new dinosaurs and new minifigures, and we had jeeps and things coming through. So any new elements went on those. You know, there's the Triceratops is back, that sort of thing. So. Well, of course, there's the back of the gates is just full of Easter eggs. It's all about scenes from the movie. So the gates open like they do in the movie. There's the scene up here with the broken eggshells, and the down here is the switch room, computer room, the toilet, even though the lawyer's not in here, and then the mudslide and the room where he's eating the jelly with wallpaper on the back. And then here is the room where Jeff Goldblum looks very memey. The T-Rex Easter egg. Well, that's straight from the movie. When they're talking to, when they're being shown on the screen, and the DNA strand is talking to them, the animated DNA strand. It's explaining how they got the dinosaur DNA, and they extract it from mosquitoes. But the DNA is so old, they say there's gaps in it. So we filled those gaps with frog DNA, they said. And I found I had a gap here at the base of the neck. So inside here, I put a Lego frog, and it didn't fill the gap at all. So the movie was wrong, but it's in there. The cable connector.
No, the arm as in
the cable connector.
Yeah. Oh. That's
not an arm. That would be completely against Lego values.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah, cable connector.
The Sam Jackson arm, if that's what you wish to refer to it as, I'm not going to confirm or deny. I might deny. We were actually very cautious about that. How far can we go? We actually, with our marketing person, we went all the way up to the top of Lego, and we asked our communication head. And I took in the build, and I used a yellow arm in that case, or yellow connector, and I showed him what I'd done. It's like, and this is how I'm doing. You know, do you remember the iconic scene with the arm and all of this? And he's like, oh yes, I know Jurassic Park quite well. It's like, so this is how I've built it. Is it okay? And his answer was, I don't see how else you could have built it. which was what I wanted to hear, because I was worried he was gonna say, no, let's take that out. We're pushing the line. But this is an adult set. It's 16 plus. The movie is 12 plus. There are some scary scenes in it, and I didn't want to back away from that. I wanted to embrace them fully. You know, it's a film about prehistoric monsters coming back and eating a few people. It's not all fun. We had some say. There were characters we wanted. We wanted John Hammond, for example, and the whole team loves Jeff Goldblum. So we wanted Jeff Goldblum. We already had these two from the previous year,
and Elise.
And of course, you can't do anything without the antagonist. And then there's Ray, and there's only two other real characters that are three: Dr. Wu, and then there's Muldoon and Gennaro, the lawyer. And at one point, Gennaro was considered, which is why I did place the toilet in here, because that's where the lawyer meets his end. It's also where Jeff Goldblum is wounded, so there's still a point to having it there. I really wanted Muldoon. I included his gun cabinet and everything, because Muldoon is from my part of the world. He was born an hour from where I was born. We're both from East Yorkshire, so it would have been lovely to have that little touch in there. But there you go, we've got some characters left should we ever come back to Jurassic Park. You know, we're moving on with Jurassic World, but if we ever come back again, we've got Muldoon and Wu and Gennaro to look at. The model came together as two different things. Pieces. The one was just built as a backdrop for the other. So the dinosaur was definitely first, and Mike's was this size. When Marcus said, go and build the ultimate dinosaur, I thought, I'll make it bigger. And I actually did. I built a head, which is another 50% bigger at least. And the eyes were I really liked the eyes. They were fantastic, and they looked down the nose, and the head looked very, very good. But then as soon as I started getting onto the neck and the shoulder blades, the Lego joints just couldn't hold the weight. I realized that the reason Mike had gone to this size is because this is the limit of Lego joints at the moment. We can't go any bigger than this, not without putting worm gears in and having to turn every single element, every single joint that we want. I think it's very unique to each one. It depends what you need. For example, Nick on Voltron asked a lot of people around the office to figure out ways to make that happen, because not only did he have to make something this size that stood on two legs, but also that split apart into five different lines.
And transform.
Whereas here it was more about me experimenting and having patience enough to leave it and see if it would survive whilst I got on with the gate. So it was a lot more of a one-man band. At the same time, Mike would come by now and then, have a look at the dinosaur, and not say anything, but have a look. I think he would have loved to have a go at a dinosaur, and I'm sure at some point he will, and probably blow this away. I mean, Muldoon. That's it for me. Yeah, I would have liked to have him there. Just that scene for me, the clever girl scene when they prove how smart the velociraptors are, and how right Alan Grant was in his talk at the beginning where he scared the kid with the fossilized claw. That's, to me, watching the movie, that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is going really further than I thought it would, and I'd love to have him in. But I think everything else I got in here. I mean, obviously, I'd love to have another huge dinosaur in here, but you know, there's a limit to how much we can ask for from people. It was pointed out by somebody that I always use a grill plate, a 1x2 grill plate. Yeah, and I put in. I didn't realize I'd done it at the time, but of course I was doing the floor of the control room, and there's like, I can't remember how many, there's 20, 25 or something in there. And because I was thinking, yes, I looked at the model and I thought, I've done one without grill plates, that's fantastic. And then I realized,
that's kind of like Steven Spielberg with his flashlights.
Yes, I did put one of the flashlights in. Yeah, but that grill plate, apparently I put it in a lot, but it's not an element which I automatically think, oh, I should include this. It's just, I often get to a point and I think, it needs to be a bit more visually interesting, and then I stick the grill plate on. We have a sort of a rule, if it's a character, it has to be printed. So the eyeballs, as this is the dinosaur, this is the character, the eyeball was printed, it's a new print. With everything else, it comes down to, do I have enough color changes left? Because a printed brick is the same as a color change. So it was like, if I left these as gray, then maybe I could print one of these, but only one of them. And the same with the computer screen inside, I wanted 3 different computer screens like Ray has, like Samuel L. Jackson has behind his desk. One showing the storm coming in and the blue screen of death and all of this stuff. But if I'd printed it, I would have used up a color change, and I'd probably have done all 3 screens the same. So it's and again here, the park, I knew it was going to be on 2 elements. If I printed it, they have to be a certain distance from the edge. That's how the machine works. By making them stickers, it means you can move them really close together and make sure that the kerning, the spacing between the letters is correct. So I know there'll be people who are disappointed, but it was, I carefully thought about it and what I could do and what I couldn't do. I think having a design degree helps when you get to Lego, because one of the things you learn on a graphic design degree is what you've done is going to have to be changed. You'll get feedback and they'll say, no, that looks wrong, this needs changing. And that sort of, what I had coming from high school, that I've done this picture and it's great, or I've done this thing and it's great. It was like, no, that's not great, and that needs to be changed, and this needs to be changed. And you get used to the feedback and the fact that often your idea will be rejected. So if I build 3 Lego models, for example, and we only choose 1 to be a set, I'm okay with that. Whereas I think if I was just coming in, I might think, you know, that hurts too much, or fight back, or snap, or whatever. But so that's it. Beyond that, it's just having the visual information, being able to take stuff in and put it back out again. I'm now working in Lego superheroes. Beyond that, I can't say anything.
Okay.